Well, the Nigerian Senate this week confirmed all the 64 people on the list of ambassadors designates submitted before it by President Bola Tinubu for screening. Now, that list was made up of 34 career ambassadors and high commissioners and 30 non-career ambassadors and high commissioners. Now, the confirmation on Thursday was sequel to the presentation and consideration of the report on foreign affairs by the chairman of the committee, Senator Sani Bello, the APC Niger North. Now, public opinion has been divided down the middle since the identity of those individuals who have now been tapped to breathe new life into Nigeria's diplomatic circles was made public. Now, I'm being joined for a bit of an agenda setting for the ambassadors designate and the necessary framework for a cordial relationship with Nigeria's foreign partners by our Arise News analyst, Frank Tietie. It's great to have you in the studio, as always, Frank Tietie. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
Well, what I'm sure you've been asked quite a bit in the last couple of weeks what you make of the list of the ambassadors designate. I'm going to ask you the same. What do you make of this list?
I think we have passed the time of controversies and questions about the quality of persons that have been nominated by the president for the ambassadorial positions. Now that the Senate has statutorily and constitutionally done its job, we've passed the politics. We now look forward to whether or not these persons can deliver on the kind of trust and confidence reposed on them by the president and the people of Nigeria through the Senate that has now confirmed them. A lot of us were initially disappointed in the list, but sometimes we have to be dispassionate when authorities exercise their powers. And in this case, we now have to look at these persons realizing the responsibility before them.
Yeah. Okay, so let me be specific. A bunch of the individuals on the list are known for their political weight, perceived political weight status, helping in do you think this will help in securing high-level access abroad? The fact that some of them are not career diplomats, or does it risk sidelining some of the technical expertise of the actual career diplomats?
That's an important issue that you have raised. To think that a number of them are non-career ambassadors, it's important to consider that they don't really know much about the diplomatic culture that exists in such a exercise of responsibility. So the first thing that such persons must do, and I'm talking about those who may mistakenly consider that this is a reward for one thing or the other, or it's a retirement zone for which they have been paid, by the president. No, this is a call to serious national assignment, and they must now know that they don't understand the intrigues that are involved in diplomacy. So they must learn. I have witnessed, and I know as a matter of fact, that Nigeria has a lot of trained diplomats that are officials of our various missions abroad. These non-career ambassadors must make up their minds in the immediate to be humble enough to now learn from these officials, to seek guidance. As for the career ambassadors, there is no problem because these people, they understand what is needed at this point, especially realizing that Nigeria is in dire straits with regards to its image abroad, and to think that after 2 years hiatus in the appointment of ambassadors, there is a whole lot of work to be done. There's work to be done in attracting foreign direct investment. There's so much to be done in attracting cooperation, especially in terms of security. So when you look at the non-career ambassadors, they may not command much of international respect at the moment, but if they play by the rules, if they are humble enough to learn from the career public servants that are in our missions, they may make some progress. Quite disappointing in the list, and no doubt, but they must, if they know that they are now representatives of this great country and not representative of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, if they move beyond politics and realize that they are meant to serve Nigerians abroad, and that the Nigerian in Diaspora Commission is not necessarily there to clean up whatever mess in terms of irresponsibility on their part, and that they must rise up to serve Nigerians and give them a feeling that they come from a place and that they don't suffer any form of discrimination or unnecessary detention or disregard for their rights while abroad. And then they must now realize that they must account for the much expenditure that will be made on them through the budget in terms of attracting and justifying the fact that so much money will be spent at this time. Money that President Tinubu had avoided to spend all this while. That money will be spent in terms of maintaining our diplomatic culture, and then they must now return. There must be return on investment on such monies. So we want to measure them in that regard. So the non-career diplomats and the ambassadors do not at the moment reflect much of expectation in terms of bright hopes.
Right.
But the task is clear-cut that
right.
Nigeria actually is in dire need of an overturn in our diplomatic circle.
And that foreign direct investment that you were talking about reportedly dropped by about 70% this year due to this ambassadorial vacuum that we've had for the past 2 years. So what specific investment first instructions should the Ministry of Foreign Affairs give to the designates ahead of some of the major summits we have coming up, like the G20 and BRICS?
All right. Well, we expect more investment in the area of oil and gas, security, and then information, communication, and technology. We must not go cap in hand begging. We must realize that we do have soft power. We have a large population, especially young people now who are parading internationally recognized skills in ICT. So in that regard, we expect some investments in more call centers coming, more infrastructure in terms of expansion of broadband and all of that coming into this country in terms of protection and building of more data centers and all of that. So we expect that. And then to also think that because of our vibrant entertainment industry, we also think that it serves as a very important negotiating tool, I would say. So we don't just go there and keep talking that public servant lingo, come bring, as if we don't have anything to give. We're a major power, not only in Africa, but in the world. But it has to be properly deployed this time around in attracting investment, especially considering the large labor skills that we have. Unfortunately, we also need serious cooperation for security, provision of security. So we're not looking up to the West all this time around, but those who will be sent around Africa should now think of forging serious security networks, security cooperative networks that will enhance Nigeria's security situation as we speak.
And that security is very important. I'm going to get to that in a second. But just like you stated, ambassadors are inheriting missions that are a bit dilapidated. They've been burdened with years of underfunding, unpaid staff salaries, etc. So is it realistic to expect an immediate resolution to some of these structural crises that need immediate attention? Is it reasonable to think that it's going to be fully resolved as soon as possible?
I think so. I think the president may have been realistic to an extent of not appointing ambassadors, but that was misadvised. And to now think that he has appointed them, there is the issue of funding is topmost. We cannot make caricature of ambassadors and make them just ceremonial heads without the necessary paraphernalia to carry on serious diplomacy. I don't want to use the crude term spy duties there, but they must be able to access proper information in their host countries so that they can actually supply such intelligence to Nigerian businessmen, Nigerian business community, and the Nigerian foreign affairs community. So to enhance not only our security, but intelligent-based investment. They need to open up opportunities for our small and medium enterprises. In that regard, the president must not think in terms of regretful consideration that the money he will spend on them is unnecessary. No, I mean, I've been to Nigerian missions. I've been hosted in the Nigerian missions, both at the mission house and at the ambassador's residence in Geneva. I mean, we need to sustain such high standards of dignity for our country. So there's no point, on reducing fund or refusing to fund them. The president must, as a matter of immediacy, release those funds, but with a matching order that such funds given to these missions must be justified in terms of return on investment, in terms of increasing the happiness of Nigerians abroad. Nigerians are virtually not very happy, and sometimes these sad stories coming out from interventions by the Nigerian Diaspora Commission is saddening. Now that the ambassadors are in place, they must, have all the necessary things that will command enough respect from their host countries, so that whenever they intervene on behalf of Nigerians, whenever they call for or open doors for Nigerian businessmen, such things will be respected. So, president must not relent in releasing funds, and I mean reasonable funds that will enhance the dignity of Nigeria. We are still a proud people, and such funds have a way of coming back in huge geometric terms. So there should be no regret in considering how much we need to spend at this time for our missions. It's important.
Very well said, Frank. And of course, discussing our influence within ECOWAS, and speaking of insecurity as well, our influence has been tested by the withdrawal of the Sahelian states and, of course, the multiple coups amongst our brother nations. How can ambassadors in West Africa recalibrate their approach to restoring Nigeria's role as the big brother of this sub-region?
I think it's about deploying soft power, but I like the fact that we also deployed, hard power in Benin recently, and we should have done that much earlier, because we have a protocol that is against a coup across the West African sub-region. We shouldn't, as a country, we should, as a democracy, tolerate any form of takeover of power, especially in those countries, in Niger, in Burkina Faso, and all of that, and Mali. We shouldn't have tolerated that. We should have, but for the fact that our country is going through the doldrums in terms of insecurity, Nigeria should not, in the interest of international law, by reason of the protocols and treaties that we have signed with these countries, by reason of the ECOWAS treaty, tolerated any form of coup d'etat in these countries. Now that this is a situation that we must now begin the deployment of soft power on these countries. After all, as a military administration in Nigeria, we also played a very important role in restoring peace, whether in Liberia or in Sierra Leone or in other parts of West Africa, in Gambia, and all of that. So we can, understandably deploy such kind of diplomacy in realizing that perhaps with some missed understanding that the military and compromise, the military governments in these countries may just well be on the path to return to democracy. Nigeria must lead the path in not giving up in all of these countries. The ECOWAS countries, the number of the ECOWAS countries before now, as it is, must be sacrosanct. And irrespective of what is happening now, as the big country, as the most responsible West African power, Nigeria must continually stand up for democracy and gradually bring these countries back in whatever diplomatic terms that it may apply. However, it means that Nigeria will need a lot more clout, more money, and then more promises, and then give in expectation that these countries will have to compromise and come back, not giving up.
Well, Frank Tietie, always great to have you on the program. Thank you so much for joining me today here on Newsday.